How y'all doing? I'm Paul Ryan, your host of the Across the Cowboys podcast. If you're new to the show, thank you for joining us. And to our regular listeners, welcome back. With me, as always, is my co-host, the greatest co-host in the world, Mike the Pig Crumb. Mike, how are you?
Minus I made us miss yesterday's, show, but other than that, I'm an okay co-host.
All right, man. Things happen, brother. It's no worries at all.
I appreciate that, man.
Life gets in the way sometimes, you know?
Yeah. Boy, howdy. It's been a fun 24 hours, but like the opposite of that.
Yeah. Well, Mike, one thing that always brightens my day is some good Cowboys news. And as always, I'm excited for our discussion tonight. Before we get into it, let the people know they can find you on Twitter.
At CD Piglet, guys. Nice and easy.
Guys, I'm Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. You know, Mike, before we can talk anything football, we've got to talk about one thing and one thing only. One of my favorite segments, if not my favorite segment. We didn't get to bring it back last week, so we'll talk about it this week. Of course, I'm referring to Meatless Monday. I got a sneak peek of what was on the menu. Let the people know what you're having tonight.
Yeah, it's I'm on my reset, so the next 10 days is all. Well, I'm on day 2, so the next 8, whatever. I don't know how to count. But it's no meat, no dairy, no sugar, no caffeine, no alcohol, no flour. So it's good food, but it's rough. Today I had some cauliflower rice with fried eggs and some lime juice, Tabasco, and some garnishes, scallions, cilantro, stuff like that, turmeric to give it some nice color. And then I showed you for dinner, I made lettuce cups, and they have tuna. Weird that you can't, it's meatless, but you could have salmon and tuna. I don't know, I don't make up the rules for the reset.
Yeah.
But it has tuna, get really good canned tuna. That's important. Red bell peppers, chickpeas, and then salt, pepper, and like garnishes, parsley, green onions were in there, lemon zest, lemon juice. It's fantastic. It is really good. But everybody else had like pork ribs and sausages and chili in the house. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go have my lettuce cups.
Yeah. So, after you do your reset, is there like a meal that you traditionally go back to your first, for your first kind of, I hate to say cheat meal, but like your indulgent meal?
I weirdly, the first day or two after my reset, I typically have stuff still left over veggie-wise that I need to use. But when I do go to an indulgent meal, it's typically my cauliflower crust pizza. I take the cauliflower crust, I put tomato sauce on it, my cheese, and then depending on if it's Meatless Monday or not, different toppings, salami, pepperoni, sun-dried tomatoes is always good. So I like to make that cauliflower crust pizza. Quesadilla is good, like cook it in butter with cheese inside, put Parmesan on the outside to get a really crisp crust on it, so it's crunchy. Obviously I miss cheese. That is a key. I want cheese.
Yeah. I thought you might say you head to In-N-Out and get yourself a double-double.
I cook burgers 5 days a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like, and I get it half off there. And honestly, this isn't a thing, part of it is because I cook it and I'm friggin' good at it. But I think Wayback's as good as In-N-Out, and I love In-N-Out. This isn't like In-N-Out Whataburger where the people diminish each other, I eat In-N-Out all day. I love it, but I can get Wayback for half price or free, depending on, if I want to pay half price or not. And it's as good. And I have different, I have tater tots as sides. I have chicken I can get. I have chili cheese or cheese bacon fry. I could have all that, and I get it at worst at half off. So, yeah, I go to Wayback now. I will hit In-N-Out on the way to Disneyland, though. That's like my fast food on the road cheat, meal that I'll do when I'm on vacation mode,
Yeah.
I go to In-N-Out. I don't do fast food, but I'll do In-N-Out.
Is that like a Disneyland tradition, stopping at In-N-Out before y'all go to Disneyland?
Or on the way home. Almost everyone, I would say 80% of the time. Every once in a while there's something going on where we don't stop, or it's busy and we're like, come on, man, we want to get there. Like, or we're on the way home and I'm in too much pain because once the trip's over, my legs go to shot mode. But for the most part, yeah, that's a tradition.
Yeah. Well, Mike, somebody who I'm sure can afford a few double-doubles after getting his new deals, Malik Hooker. What were your initial thoughts on that?
My initial thought is, what a transition. My honest first thought, because I'm a sick person, was like, oh, Jerry got another deal on a hooker. That's just how my mind works. But, yeah, I'm terrible. But my first thought went to how crazy it is that somebody, I think Dave Hellman or somebody put out a thing that, like, over the last decade, before the last 2 years, the 10 years before that, they combined for like 15 to 19 million in guaranteed money for the safety position.
Yeah.
That whole time. The whole time.
Yeah.
And this season, the guaranteed money is somewhere around 30 for the safety position. And that turnaround on that and one techniques, going and getting Hankins, re-signing him, drafting Mozzie, that switch from these positions don't mean much to these positions are key, so important.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons I really have faith that we might be able to make that jump now to the next level.
Yeah, it's nice to see the front office making these investments that in years past, I don't know if it was the influence of the past coaching regime, maybe, not trying to blame anything on Rod Marinelli or anything like that, or Jason Garrett, but you see Dan Quinn coming in and, what he's been able to do with the defense and how he's been able to influence this front office. It's nice to see that the Cowboys are starting to try to put their coaches in better positions to succeed.
I do believe that the front office and Will McClay puts a lot of stock into what their staff says. And under Garrett and Marinelli, they didn't really, they weren't really big on one techniques, and they didn't believe the safety position was as important as the corner position. And they put a lot of faith in the linebacker position and the running back position, which, is starting to flip around now for McCarthy and Dan Quinn. So, I was always mad about it, but I understand, if your coaching staff is sitting there going, we're okay here. Don't worry about spending big capital here. We'll work it out. Our scheme doesn't need that. It makes me feel less about Jerry being mad at the GM than I am about the coaches and what they require.
I got to say, I was pretty surprised by the deal only because, we still have to sign Dak. We still have to sign CD. We still, we got Diggs done. But, of course, Zach Martin's out there still waiting for a new deal. My initial reaction was just surprised. Of course, I'm happy for Malik. I mean, he's been a great player here, but it just kind of was unexpected.
Yeah, I didn't expect it. I thought for sure the next one would be probably in 3 or 4 weeks, Martin, and then if not, something from Dak or Lamb. That was just what I assumed. And for them to get a Hooker or Steele done, I didn't really see that until later on. I didn't see that as something happening in training camp, but I'm happy for it. So it's good.
Absolutely. Well, not that Malik didn't earn this new deal, Mike, but when you look at it, do you think the front office did this more for Malik or for Dan Quinn?
It's like I just said. I think they follow what their staff believes. If you look at it, like I just asked a question to Locked On Cowboys guys. They always have Twitter questions, and I asked them, who's the guy that that if Malik Hooker isn't re-signed, this was right before. If Malik Hooker's not re-signed or goes down, who is it? Tyler Coyle? Is it Izzy Mukwamu? Like, who's the guy that can play the back end like that, let alone be good versus the run? But at least it could play the coverage part of it, because I don't know if I see it. I like Izzy more as a corner, to be honest. And Tyler Coyle looks like a good guy, but I don't know if he can do what Hooker can do. So, I think Dan Quinn sees that and said, let's get these guys locked up because they're too important to the back end of the defense. Him and Donovan Wilson, obviously.
Yeah, I'm gonna jump to the next question, Mike, because I feel like that's a good transition for it, and I'll go back to the show sheet here. But how important is Malik to this defense?
Yeah, I think he's really important. Like I said, he I don't know of any. Maybe Tyler Coyle can play the back end at a level that's good enough, like Malik Hooker. Maybe not to the top level, but or Mukwamu has enough range to play that. But I don't know if either of them can play the run as well as Hooker has in his 2 years in Dallas. And so having that ability to when you want to disguise something, Malik Hooker can run up and still be a good player versus the run. But then have him on your back end playing range, side to side. It's important. It's I'm trying to think. Parsons, Curse, Dono, Tank. It's there 5 or 6 with LVE, right in that range of most important on the defense, So at 5 to 7, depending on, you got to throw corner in. It's important. Parsons obviously is number 1. Tank is a run stopper. It's up there as one of the core things. Under Parsons, there's 5 or 6 things that jumble into that second tier, and Malik Hooker belongs in.
So Malik, it's fair to say, I guess he's better than replaceable, but he's not a core part. He's a key piece of the defense. He's just not a core piece, you think?
Yeah, that's actually in that question. That is how I answered it. I was like, he's key because nobody on the roster could do that dual role that he has. So yeah, key is the word.
I got you. So how does Malik's deal affect future Cowboys players' deals?
I don't see it as affecting Dak because Dak's cap hit's too high next year, so it's got to get done. Mike is going to get everything, and he's another full season away from even being eligible. I don't see Lamb as an issue because they have the 5th-year option if they need to, so that's not a big deal. Martin, I think it could help because they need to lower his $24 million cap hit next year. So I think if it was going to affect a guy, it would be maybe Steele or Curse. 1-year players, there's only so many people you could bring back off, off 1 year. So Curse and Steele would be the 2 I would worry about in that situation, but none of the super big mega contracts.
If you had to pick one of the 2, J-Ron Curse or Terrence Steele to bring back, who would you pick?
Man, I love what Curse brings to the attitude in the locker room, but I haven't seen enough of Waletzko yet. I'm a personal, I love Waletzko, and I think he could be a good right tackle, but you're telling me right now, I've seen more from Bell and Izzy. We have Overshown. I believe in Dan Quinn's ability to replace more than I know from Solari and the offense. And so I don't like saying it because I don't want to lose J-Ron Curse, but I would say I'd lose Curse now. Get into these preseason games even, and I get a couple of games of Waletzko where Steele doesn't play because he's come back from the injury, and Waletzko shows he's really good, and I might flip that answer. So prepare that for maybe going into week 4 of the preseason around that pod. Maybe if Waletzko's doing good, we re-ask that question.
Yeah, it really does boil down to who can be more easily replaced. And when you think about Dan Quinn, what he's able to do, I think you worded that perfectly.
Yeah, just locker room wise is my play on the field. As great as Curse is, I believe Dan Quinn could work around it. But my goodness, you want to talk about a true leader, a guy you follow attitude wise. Curse is so underrated.
Yeah, he really is. So I'm curious, Mike. For years, Cowboys Nation was clamoring for the front office to invest in the safety position, and here, now we see this offseason, we bring back Donovan Wilson, we bring back Malik Hooker. What do you think it was that took so long? Was it, in addition to the Dan Quinn influence, do you think that's just the main reason that it took the right coaching staff?
I think Dan Quinn is dominated in his time here. I think Dallas saw the year before he got here how bad it could be. And I think that they said, okay, we can't sign everybody, but who's some guys that's like, all right, give me 5 guys I know you need on the team. And Dan Quinn said, Dan Quinn's number one has always been Donovan Wilson. That is his guy. Attitude, play style, he loves Donovan Wilson. And I think he sees Hooker as a guy that's hard for him to look at the roster and find a guy that can do that. So I think that's the two reasons both those guys got paid. As Dan Quinn said, we need them.
Yeah, in addition to, they just been the year that Donovan Wilson had last year, you could argue that he was behind Mike, of course, the second base player on defense, probably our best. You could argue he was the best player in our secondary.
I argued that. A lot of people said Tank, and we all know how I feel about that man, but I was like, Donovan Wilson had 100 tackles. He was a killer. His percentages on his blitz that he got there and hurried the QB or hit him or pressured him or sacked him was incredible. He missed a little bit too many tackles, but he's really, when you're a 100 tackle person, you're going to miss some, and just his attitude and his willingness to just do anything and everything for the defense. I would have him as my second behind Parsons personally.
Yeah. There was a handful of games where he set the tone for the defense.
He is what Jaron Curse is in vocal. Donovan Wilson is that guy on the field. He's that violent, crazy player.
Remind me, what was the draft capital on Donovan Wilson? He was like a day 3 guy, right?
6th round pick. My favorite pick. I love that pick. God,
man,
so cool. And I was on him as being a top 10 caliber safety as early as year 1. And then going into last year, I finally was like, he just doesn't stay healthy enough. And then he played 17 games.
And just, man, that year alone, though, I think was deserving of at least, a 2-year deal.
Oh, yeah, you had to. I had moved on. People had kind of, Donovan Wilson was too injured. I agreed with them. And I had moved to being the Biotish defender, where everybody was like, 7th round pick and undrafted free agent's going to take his job. And I was like, Biotish isn't that bad, guys. Like, he really isn't. And then he turned in a great year.
Right.
And so, it's been now, and now I don't want to pay him. Like, I'm like, I like Biotish, but he's replaceable still. Like, not by 7th round picks and stuff, but it's funny how it flipped. Now everybody wants to pay and keep Biotish and make him a core person. And I'm like, got a few too many guys to pay. I think you let Biotish walk.
Yeah. Sucks to think about, man. Thankfully, we don't have to have that conversation this year.
I agree. But this is going to be a big year. They need to really go at it this year.
Yes, sir. All right, Mike, last week we talked about training camp storylines we wanted to see coming out of training camp. So it's only right that this week we talk some stories that we don't want to see coming out of training camp. We're going to do 3 for the defense and 3 for the offense. Mike, start us off with let's go from 3 to 1. Give us your number 3 storyline you don't want to see coming off the defense side of training camp.
Well, I, you know me. It's always going to be. I don't want to hear about injuries. Like that would be the most negative. Like today,
Yeah,
Mozzie's getting MRI, tendonitis. Uh, uh,
I didn't hear that.
what was the one? Schoonmaker's back. That's good. But there was another person who went
Yeah.
out. And I'm blanking on who it was. He didn't practice, but just get to the season healthy and no major injuries. That's always my main worry storyline wise.
Yeah, for me, Mike, a report I don't want to hear coming out of training camp. My number 3 storyline is stopping the run is still an issue.
Oh yeah, that would be real bad. You bring back Hankins, Sam Williams should help there. That's going to actually lean into my next storyline, but yeah, if that was a storyline going in, that would be a real problem. If we stop the run, we should have possibly the best defense in football.
Yes, sir. All right, so what's your number 2 storyline for the defense, Mike?
That Tank doesn't seem to be holding up. Like the injuries, the wear and tear finally is getting to him, and he's not looking like the same player. And I think that leads into defense because pressure-wise, he's not a 15 sack guy. He's not Micah Parsons. He's not going to be that. But he's a great mix of be elite versus the run and a issue in pass protection. And so I just want him to still be himself, holding up against the run, being a top 5 edge versus versus the run, and we'll go from there. We have plenty of pass rushers.
Yeah, I like that one, man. I think we all, sometimes tend to take Tank for granted, but not having Tank on that defensive line, that would be a huge hole to try to fill, man.
Yeah, it would. We need the idea is Sam Williams being that in another year or two.
Yeah. My number 2 storyline, I'm sure this is probably more realistic. I just hate to hear about it, our second round pick, but Kelvin Joseph is a cut candidate, and I'm pretty sure that actually is a storyline out of training camp.
Yeah, it definitely is. I'll tell you, they don't want that at all. They are bad. They're trying to put him everywhere. They know he's an early pick, and they don't want to admit the failure of it, and he's a good special teamer. So they have 2 reasons to give him every chance to make the team. So, yeah, that would be – if that happened, he's just been a nightmare. And so far, he's gotten caught on a lot, but he hasn't been a nightmare.
Yeah. All right, Mike, what's your number 1 storyline for the defense?
The team is relying on Mozzie and Overshown too much. DT takes a minute to get used to the NFL strength. You already see he's missing time. He's getting an MRI. Like, it's hard. No, I don't care how strong you are. Mozzie is the strongest of the strong. It takes you a while to consistently get used to facing people equally as strong as you or at the NFL level of strength. At Michigan, he'd play Ohio State, and that's a big, strong guy. And then he'd play Iowa. And it's like, this ain't the same as playing an NFL caliber guard and center every week. And so I just don't want them relying on those guys. They're going to be contributors. They're going to flash, but it's going to be tough for them to consistently be big playmakers on a defense this good.
All right, Mike, I know this one is a couple years away, but, players talk and, they all have personal goals and everything. But I would hate to hear that there's whispers that Micah Parsons wants to test free agency. That's my number 1 storyline I don't want to hear.
Yeah, nobody wants to hear that. I don't even want you to bring that up. It's not going to happen. Dallas knows they're going to have to pay him top dollar. It's not happening, but yeah, that's terrifying.
That man might get like $200 million. He might get a quarterback contract, dude.
He's going to get somewhere close. I think it was at our buddy Mike White at Not to Be Trite who said, Micah Parsons is going to be that Mahomes tier this year. And I agree, he probably is.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to the offense, Mike. What's your number 3 storyline you don't want to hear about the offense?
Injuries. Injuries.
Come on.
It's so important
fair,
that
man.
it has to be said every time. It's always number one.
Yeah.
If you lose a guy, I'm not even saying names because I don't want it to be out there. But if you lose one of the big guys, you're effed. So just stay healthy. Always the storyline. Stay healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think this has been an issue so far, but my number 3 storyline is Micah Gallup can't get open versus the defense.
He's had some separation issues, but it's not the same as last year. Michael Gallup's a very good number 2 wide receiver, and the Dallas defense has very good number 1 corners on both sides. So he's going to struggle to get open versus them. Now, when he's facing wide receiver 3 to cornerback 3 on some team, the Commanders, now, if he couldn't get open then it would be a issue.
I mean, you think about Dallas's top 3 corners, man. Like people are saying, we probably have the best secondary, if not the best secondary in the NFL right now, and that's including Deron Bland.
Easily the best secondary. If you're talking corners and safeties, there's no one up there with Dallas that has both. There's some that have cornerback groups that are as good. I don't think anybody touches the safeties.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy to think about what happened in just 2 years.
Dan Quinn is special.
Yes, sir. All right, Mike, what's your number 2 storyline?
Number 2 storyline is that Martin and Steele aren't starting on the right side. When it comes down, after the 4th preseason game, and it's time to go on. If Steele's not back playing and for some reason Martin isn't there, or he comes back and something happens again, injury storyline is not something we want to hear. We want to hear all players are healthy. So that would be a killer. They need that right side. And I love Let's Go, but I'm trying to win Super Bowls, not build for the future this year.
All right, Mike, we have a new listener tonight, somebody joining in here live, and Solar saying we have the best roster in football. It's just staying healthy, just like you said.
I agree, Solar, 100%. They have an elite roster. They got to stay healthy.
Do you know anybody by the name Solar, Mike?
Not that I know of, but he might be mad. Like, what do you mean? We talk all the time, but I'm not good. Like, I know Nick and Brendan and Dan and like Massey. There's like 25 I know by like name, and then the rest are like the @. And I'm like, oh yeah, I talk to him a lot,
Yeah. Well, Solar, hey man, we appreciate you tuning in tonight, brother. Thank you so much. I appreciate the comment. Yeah, my number 2 storyline, Mike, is the offensive line is having issues in pass protection.
That's an enormous storyline. And the thing is that is a storyline right now. But
it is.
What I'll edit that is coming out of Jacksonville. We're saying that coming out of the next preseason game, when they're facing Micah Parsons and like Dante Fowler is the 3rd defensive end going against the 3rd, string friggin' offensive tackle. Well, yeah, he's going to destroy him. Micah Parsons versus anybody is probably going to destroy, But if it's like we're struggling versus, the 3rd string of the Jaguars defense, then I'm really worried.
That's scary. Yeah. Okay, Mike, here we are. What's your number 1 storyline you don't want to hear about the offense?
Zeke returning. I'm already tired of that. Just go with the youth. We don't need another guy that you got to give carries to because of the name and the pedigree on the team and everything like that. Just go with Malik Davis and Dowdle and Deuce Vaughn behind your number 1 guy.
Yeah.
You don't need to bring back it reminds me of bringing back Dez Bryant at tight end and all the mumbo jumbo. Just go with your youth. You have a running back one. Stick with him and your young guys behind him.
Yeah. All right, Mike. My number 3 storyline I don't want to hear is Dak wants to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
That's fair. They might have to
and
do
only
it
because,
though.
man, not and the only reason is not that I don't think he's deserving of it, but I guess there's a conversation to be had even there. But with CD and with Zach Martin and Terrence Steele and these other contracts we got to have, man. Him wanting that, man, that makes things really difficult.
I honestly, the storyline I would like to hear is that he came out and like Burrow did. Hey, we're gonna need a lot of people. I don't need top of the market. Just give me a fair deal, and that would, like, the Trayvon Diggs deal was incredible. It was such a great deal for Dallas. He still makes a ton of money. He's gonna do great. And I would love Dallas to get that with Dak, because not that we'll go out and spend a bunch of money outside, but more of the Hooker, Hankins, Steele, Curse. If we take less money, we have a better chance of bringing those guys back.
Exactly. All right, Mike, what you're looking at training camp, it's only been 2 weeks, but after these 2 weeks, has the offense or the defense been better in training camp, do you think?
For me, it's clearly been the defense, but it's kind of unfair because Tyron can't go all the time. Zach Martin's not there. Steele isn't, playing for real. So it's like the Dallas number 1 defensive strength is pass rush, and they're going against a makeshift offensive possibly make shit. But a makeshift offensive line, and it's just not fair. Honestly, the flip side could be, considering what both have, the fact that the offense has been very competitive with him, could kind of lean towards, considering expectation, the offense might have the better camp. But I think if you went like just flat line, which side has played better, I would say defense, but it's default. Defense has their defensive linemen. Offense doesn't have their offensive line.
Yeah, I've heard a lot more, I guess, just in the last few days about how the offense has kind of had their way with the defense. But overall, I'd have to agree. I think the defense has been getting the best of the offense.
The offense had a nice that period where they did the 2-minute drills. Their goal line, like inside the 5 or red zone stuff, has been nasty on the offense. Like, the defense has not been able to stop it. Just, there's too many weapons, too much stuff you could do. You got to watch for Turpin and Pollard and Lamb, and then Gallup's a specialist at going up on the fade, and they have you have big tight ends that are that can go up and get the ball. So in the red zone, the offense is dominated. I just don't know how well they've done past that.
Yeah, I know. Dak was kind of getting on some of the defensive players' nerves, getting in their heads. He had Trayvon talking trash. He had LVE trying to slap the ball out of his hand. So the offense was having a good day.
Yeah, they were talking smack. I love it, dude. Dallas has to believe that if the offensive line holds up, they can be the best offense in the NFL, and the defense has to believe that if Micah Parsons or there's no other like major setbacks anywhere, that they are going to be the number 1 defense in the NFL. So it makes for a battle because the top guys on the offense believe what they believe, the top guys on the defense believe what they believe, and they get to go at it.
Yes, sir. All right, Mike, you mentioned the game versus the Jaguars this week, and your views from the sidelines. I'm curious. Give us one defensive player, one offensive player to keep our eye on during that game.
Turpin is the offensive player. He's played. He's had a good camp. I would say very recently, maybe over the last 2 practices, Tolbert might have overtook him as the wide receiver 4, which is not a bad thing. He's a top 100 draft pick, so that's good.
No.
But Turpin's right in there in that battle for wide receiver 4. He's also a Pro Bowl returner. He's a threat every time the ball is going to go into his hands. Everybody's butthole puckers because it could be a touchdown. Like, just is what it is. I thought you'd like that. So, seeing him play and not in gadget plays. And I'm lining up. This is the offensive ball. We've got to make calls. He's done it in camp so far. He's done it plenty. He's beat Diggs a few times. He's beat Gilmore once or twice. He's done it versus the good guys. Beat Bland. So, seeing him line up and seeing, even if it's Cooper Rush, them be able to make connections and him get separation and make plays is going to be big time, because then there's no worry about like, oh, are you just having a punt returner on there? Can we find somebody that can do both? He could be an elite punt returner that adds something to the offense.
Yeah, no, Mike, I don't remember from last year. I know he went to the Pro Bowl, but did he actually get voted into the Pro Bowl, or was he a replacement?
No, he was voted. He was the top guy, top returner, which is weird because he never had any touchdowns in season. He had a couple in preseason, but he had a couple where like he messed up the return. Otherwise, it would have been a touchdown. Like he had it, he broke it, and then chose a wrong way right at the end to get caught. He probably should have had 2 touchdowns on the year, and he probably should have had a playoff one. So, I understand that the Pro Bowl voters know he's a threat. I'm sorry, Paul. What was that?
Yes, sir. No, I was going to say, I know against that 49ers, in that 49ers game in the playoffs, man, he should have had a touchdown.
Yeah, and now he's going to have a full offseason to prepare. He's going to be rested. He's going to be ready, and I expect him to have multiple returns for touchdown. I'm not going to lie.
Yes, sir. Who was the guy on defense, Mike?
Damone Clark. Word is he's being a monster. I think he's too big, too athletic, and works too hard. His film study is probably the best on the defense. And I just expect him to be. My expectation is for Leighton Vander Esch to be the starting linebacker, but Damone Clark to be the best linebacker on the team by the end of the year.
Man, that's kind of surprising, though, because Damone Clark is a key piece of the defense. I'd like to think, our second best linebacker, if you consider, maybe our third is if you factor in Micah Parsons. But how do you feel about him playing in a preseason game, this first preseason game?
A series or 2, yeah. I'm okay with it.
Okay.
He's got to get out there. We're kind of thin on linebacker, too. I don't want Harper.
Yeah.
Jabril Cox, Overshown, and Malik Jefferson being the only guys to play the whole game. So
that's fair. That's fair. All right, Mike, here we are. One word. The preseason is a blank for NFL teams and players.
Blank opportunity, right?
That was
that
was my one word. No, my bad. That was
okay.
When I sent you the show sheet. I filled it out, and I put opportunity in the blank, and then I don't know why I did that, and then sent it to you. That was my one word, is opportunity.
Okay, well we wanted to get yours in first. That probably is the right one. Let me look at it. Preseason games I put risky for NFL and players. That. Because if you put people out there and they get injured, that's terrible. Yeah. If you don't play anybody ever, why would anybody want to pay, for that? Like it wouldn't, kind of would make it not worth it, so it's risky on both sides. And it's risky going into the season without, playing at all. So risky. I like risky. I like opportunity though, too. That's a good word.
One. Yeah, I wanted to keep it simple. I thought that was pretty fitting.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, here we are. here we are with top 5. This week's topic is our top 5 favorite bites of food. I thought this was a good one, Mike. I had fun filling this one out.
Yeah, this is a good one. I'm interested to see yours compared to my fatty. Like, I'm so fat. I'm wondering what yours are going to be comparatively.
So, guys, just for those listening, it can be like one singular bite of food, like maybe like a bite of a certain fruit or something that we like, or a combination of multiple things that are equivalent to one bite. That's the I don't know, what's the word I'm looking here for, Mike? Not the standard, but it doesn't matter. What's the word I'm looking for? Help me out here. Throw me a bone.
That's the idea of the list. It's the idea of the list.
The idea of the list.
There's a better word, but I can't think of it either.
Yeah.
I know which one you're thinking of, but I can't think of it.
Yeah. I know, it's weird. All right, Mike, give us number 5.
Okay, so that was hard to narrow down the 4 or 5 because there's a bunch like when you get a deep dish pizza and that back crust is all crispy and there's a little pepperoni left. And, so it was tough. I wanted to get that one. But I narrowed it down. I went to when you get that breakfast, that's chicken fried steak, gravy, and biscuits, and you make it like a sandwich, and you take that cut, a piece of biscuit with a piece of the chicken fried steak, and it's got the gravy on it. That bite is elite breakfast food, fatty style.
Legendary, dude. With the egg though too, right?
Oh yeah. Well, typically I'll get my egg where it's with yolk, like not scrambled. So I like to get the yolk in there too.
Oh God, you have to, dude. You have to. Man, I had my wife and I. We had chicken fried steak and eggs about a month ago for breakfast, but man, that's a breakfast that doesn't get enough credit in my opinion.
No, you know how we were talking about cheat? Like I was thinking that. I was like, when I get off this reset, I need to make. Yeah. I have the steak in there. I need to make it.
Man, that would be good. All right, Mike, number 5. I'm going with the stadium nacho bite. You've got that round chip with the cheese and the pickled jalapeno. I know it's a very basic nacho. Probably, people don't really appreciate that nacho, but it's something about that combination of the 3 that it's just so good, man. It's so simple. It takes me back to simpler times.
You know what you hate about that is that it's so goddamn good that the theaters and the stadiums get you to pay $8 to $10 for that shit. And it's just some hot cheese that you can get at the liquor store with the cheapest tortilla chips, but it's so good that you're like, man, I gotta,
so good.
I gotta get it while I'm here.
And it's weird because I'm thinking about all the nachos you could have, like steak fajita nachos, chicken fajita, whatever, brisket, all that. But something about those nachos, man, it's the simplicity of it is really what makes it, I think.
I agree.
All right, Mike, number 4 on my list, and shout out to my guy Prescott because I'm sure he has fond memories of this. But I'm going with the Bluebell banana pudding ice cream and a waffle cone. That last bite where you get like the ice cream and a little piece of vanilla wafer. I know you haven't had the ice cream because we talked about it before, but then it's kind of like melted, but still has a little bit of like a body to it, if you will. And then you get that nice crunch from the cone. I'll have to tell a funny story when we wrap this up. Hopefully my guy Prescott.
I want to know now. Another banana dessert type story, huh? For the
I'll tell it real quick. So there was a summer. Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, please.
No, it's okay. So there was a summer. Yeah, there was a summer where me and my cousin Chase and my cousin Prescott, we were living with my Nana. And right behind her house, like a block over, was my Aunt Teresa. She was living in a house. And my cousin Ryan was home from summer from college, so he was staying there. And that summer, we would hang out every night. We'd go drinking, just hanging out, chilling, having like a boy summer, if you will, back in your younger days. And one night, I was staying the night with Ryan, and we just got chilling. And for some reason, I don't know why, but like we had to end up buying like a gallon of ice cream Ryan's mom had bought a gallon of ice cream, and Matt was like, "Hey man, would you make me a cone before I have to go home?" We're like, "Yeah, we got you." And if you know my cousin Ryan, he's a bit of a prankster. So we go inside the house and we make Prescott's cone, and he takes out the ice cream, he takes out the cone, and then he takes jalapenos out of the fridge. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? And he puts a pickled jalapeno at the very bottom of the cone, right? And he puts ice cream on top, and then he puts another jalapeno like on top and puts ice cream on top of that one, right? I'm like, bro, why'd you put two? He's like, okay, so he's gonna take a bite of the ice cream, right? He's gonna take that first jalapeno, and he's gonna be like, "Oh man, y'all got me!" But then he's gonna get down to the very last one and get got again. And so we're like, "Oh god, dude!" So we're giving the ice cream. We're sitting there eating it together, right? And he reaches that first jalapeno, and he's like, "Oh man, I hate you guys." Well, he ends up leaving. Well, so me and Ryan are just hanging out. We're talking or whatever, and we kind of forget about it. And all of a sudden, we get a phone call, and it's from Prescott. We're like, "What's?" He puts it on speakerphone. And he's like, "Hey man, what's going on?" He's like, "Man, I freaking hate you bastards." We're like, "Why?" And he's like, "Y'all put a second jalapeno in the." We just burst out laughing, dude. We talk about that all the time. Anytime we think about banana pudding, we always go back to that story.
That's a great prank. The elevated second jalapeno is so brilliant because you put your guard down. You got me. Good one, guys. To get hit with the double. With the double shot, that's elevated pranking right there. I love it.
So good, man.
I love it.
All right, Mike, what's number 4 on your list?
Number 4 on my list was a hard one. I went with fried cheese curds, and I couldn't narrow down. I love fried cheese. So I was trying to think.
Cheese curds are so good, bro.
I was trying to think the best bite with them. Like, is it with marinara, like a mozzarella stick? Is it with a sweet and sour sauce? Is it with a horseradish cream? But we were at my store. Me and my best friend's wife were working, and somebody told us take the fried cheese curds, put them with a little bit of caramel sauce, and then of course my fat ass added some bacon to it, and that. Fair food taste of right out of the fryer, fried cheese curds with a little bit of caramel sauce and a piece of bacon. Perfect. It was so good.
My God. I'm starting to salivate just thinking about that, dude, because I've had a cheese curd like fresh out of the fryer, bro. Way better than a mozzarella stick.
Yes, 100%. Try it with some caramel. Next time, just get a little of that Hershey's caramel or whatever caramel you have. Bomb.
I'll have to try that, man. That sounds really good. Would never think to add those 3 things together, but that sounds incredible.
It's a fatty creation. It's what fat people do.
Yes, sir. All right, Mike, number 3 on your list.
Number 3 is, man, my thing. I just realized mine has a theme. Candied bacon. So it's bacon with that's brushed with maple syrup and then sprinkled with red chili flake and a little bit of pepper. And so you get the spice, but it's also sweet. And then, of course, the flavor of bacon is amazing, just bacon. So it's so good. It's at Lazy Dog. I get it at Lazy Dog. Anytime I go there, no matter what, candy bacon.
I don't think I've ever had candy bacon, man. That sounds really good.
It's a must, dude. You got to get on that.
Yeah, I'll have to fix that. Number 3 on my list, Mike. It's the last bite of the Mexican breakfast plate. You've got a little bit of tortilla left. You've got the refried beans, and then you've got your maybe huevos con papas or your huevos con a la mexicana, whatever it is, and like the chili style potatoes that they have. And you've got the little vehicle with the tortilla. You get the beans. You get all of it in just that one last bite of tortilla. Do that homemade flour tortilla and a little bit of salsa, man. Man. That's number 3 on my list. Oh, our guy Jordan Stock, Lazy Dog is so good.
Lazy Dog is bomb, dude. And it's a well priced. And there's dogs everywhere, which I love. So it's like good food, well-priced food, and pets. You can't, like, that's as good as it gets for me. That's if a Cowboys game was on and we were winning by like 20 points, that would be like the ultimate, like, couldn't get better for me. As far as
Paradise on Earth.
As far as the Mexican plate, you want to know what annoys me? When you get like 2 tortillas, but it's like 5 tortillas worth of food. Don't skimp on my tortillas.
Right.
I always try to get like an extra thing of tortillas because I'd rather just eat the rolled up tortilla with nothing left or run it over the plate than run out and not be able to like have the vehicle to get everything in one bite.
Yeah. I know. I hate that. I always order at least one more. I need at least 3.
Agreed.
All right, Mike, what's number 2 on my turn. What number 2 on my list? I'm going with the last bite of a Whataburger patty melt. I don't know what it is. It's probably my wife's favorite burger. I love the patty melt. It's up there for me. I think it was on my top 5 burger list when we ranked our burgers. But like, we can have fries. You know how like sometimes you eat around a sandwich, like you'll eat all around the edge, and then you'll just have that one center bite. So I'll do that with a patty melt, and I'll just kind of like leave it there on the paper, and I'll eat my fries. You know, I'll make sure to house my fries. I'll drink my drink, and I just kind of stare at it. And I'm like, this is the last one, man. And I make sure to savor it. But the last bite of a Whataburger patty melt, it's an elite bite.
If I ever make it to the big time and I go to a Cowboys game in Texas, I will make sure to get Whataburger because I'm not one I love In-N-Out and I love Way Back, and I'm sure I'd love Whataburger. So if I do go, I'll make sure I get a patty melt for sure.
Oh yeah, you have to, and some spicy ketchup.
So is that tomato ketchup and sriracha?
I don't know what it is. It's like their own recipe.
Gotcha. Yeah, I got to try Whataburger.
All right, Mike, what's number 2 on your list?
Number 2 on my list, okay. It's a specific bite, a specific area. It's when you're having cheesecake and that back end where the graham cracker's higher. So it's not like this much filling to this much graham cracker crust. It's that big ass end where it's half crust, half cheesecake. That bite. Like when I share a piece of cheesecake, I tell people like I'm taking the back. Like I can't have this little bit of crust. I want the crust. When I make one, my crust's like that thick. I want crust on my cheesecake, and that back end, ultimate bite for me.
Yeah, that's a good one. I know that cheesecake would be on my wife's list. We went to Cheesecake Factory almost 2 months ago, and we brought home a couple pieces of cheesecake. And she really appreciates a good cheesecake.
Shout out Tahoe Joe's, man. In my opinion, other than the one I make, of course, I'm going to love my own. But other than me having to put in the effort to make one, Tahoe Joe's cheesecake is elite. I would go there just for that.
Really? Okay. What kind of restaurant is that?
Sit down, steaks, pork chops on the baked potatoes, green beans, that kind of stuff. You know, it's kind of it's actually a very Texas restaurant. You know, pork chop steak, prime rib.
Oh, okay. Interesting. All right, Mike, here we are. Number 1. What's number 1 on your list?
Number 1 has made a list before. My top Super Bowl foods. I believe it was number 1 on that as well. You take a date, you take the pit out, you stuff it with goat cheese, you wrap it with bacon, you stick it in the oven. Bacon being a big theme on my list. The smokiness of the bacon with the sweet of the date with the tanginess of the goat cheese is perfect food. It's perfect. It cannot be beaten. It doesn't need any adjustment. It doesn't need to be changed. It's perfection. And I'll eat 400 of them, but I would be 300 pounds against. That is one of my all-time favorite bites of food. obviously my favorite bite, but like I would put it up there with like entrees. It's that good.
Have you tried the day where it's like you take the pit out, you fill it with peanut butter, dip it in chocolate, and put it in the fridge for a couple hours, and it's supposed to taste like a Snickers? Have you tried that one?
I've had something similar, and they're good, but they're sweet. Whereas in with the goat cheese and the bacon, you get a little bit more savory. But it is dates are top level food. Like if you can you make something with pork, try to add dates to it, and you will not be disappointed.
Okay, I'll have to keep that in mind. I'm not sure I've ever had a date.
You're married, sir. You've been on a date.
Number one, I was just thinking of a cheesy joke like that. That's funny.
Sorry.
All right, Mike. Number one on my list. This is a bite that if I'm lucky if I get it once a year, but it is this. I guess this would be the perfect Thanksgiving bite, at least in my eyes. You've got the turkey, the gravy, the stuffing, the cranberry sauce, and the roll. And you've got that little like sandwich thing, bro.
That's the key. I was waiting for you to say on the roll. It's gotta be a sandwich.
It has to be on the roll, bro.
The sandwich
has
is
to
key.
be.
I so agree. That should have made my list. That should have been at least 5. That is a elite meal in one bite. And that's what's different about it is a meal in a bite. That should have made my list. That is a great number one. That might be the best number one you've had on a top 5, excluding, of course, the wife and kid. That was really a smart one. That was, you were playing it good with that one. But that is a great bite of food. Earl Sandwich offers that year-round, and there's a couple of other sandwich places where you can get that sandwich. But it doesn't always it has the stuffing, cranberry, turkey, and gravy, but it doesn't always have you can add mashed potatoes on Thanksgiving. Doesn't always have that. But stuffing, cranberries, turkey, and gravy on a roll. Earl Sandwich has it, and I know of a couple other sandwich places here in Fresno that have it. So you don't have to have it always once a year if you find the right sandwich shop.
If I go somewhere for lunch and they have turkey and dressing on the menu, 9 out of 10, I'm getting it every time.
It's one of the only frozen meals I'll eat. Is the frozen turkey,
really? Okay.
Stuffing and gravy. I don't do it much, but I'll do it every once in a while.
Oh, dude, the Thanksgiving Day shepherd's pie. You just instead of the beef and the corn and the mashed potatoes and the peas, you have the turkey, you have the stuffing, the mashed potatoes. Man.
I've done that.
That's a good way to utilize those leftovers.
Yeah, you make 2 turkeys just to be able to do leftovers like that.
Man. Yeah, I'll have to come over to Thanksgiving at your house sometime, Mike.
100%. Now we got under 2 minutes. Let's close it out. We can do it under an hour.
Yes, sir. All right, Mike, man, as always, I enjoyed our discussion tonight. Before we get you out of here, remind the people they can find you on Twitter.
Letter C, letter D, Piglet, at CD Piglet, nice and easy.
Guys, I'm Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. We appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Under an hour.